Today's guest is going to blow you away. He's not only a four-time icon agent, closing 40 to 60 deals per year, but also manages to have the time to dedicate to his organization of 200 agents within the Wolfpack. I can't wait for you to meet Jeremy Kane and learn all his tips on how he makes it happen while having a family in Denver, Colorado. Hello, everybody. We're back with Unicorn Properties, and this time we're going all the way to Denver with Jeremy Kane here, one of our partners at Wolfpack. Thanks for being with us, Jeremy.
Thanks, Natalie.
Well, I'm excited to chat with you because you have quite a big organization. And you've done, you follow a path of what I feel like is very structured and very helpful for agents that might be new or in the business for a while, but they can find a community, with your group too. So will you share with us more about who's Jeremy, your path into the real estate space that you had so far?
Yeah, absolutely. And it all makes sense. Basically, I'm 12 and a half years in, and I was a teacher prior. I called my dad, who happened to be a managing broker of a different company, and just said, "Hey, I'm wanting to start a family, want to, start making a little bit more money, still want to deal with people. What do you think about me getting into real estate?" I didn't know what he would say because it was shortly after the 08, 09, recession crash, whatever you want to call it. And I didn't really know, but he was guns a-blazing. He's like, "You'll be awesome at it. Let's go." So I got my license, the last quarter of the school year and had my license by July of that year. And then it's really been kind of head down, get to work. I knew that my dad was somebody that I could rely on for, contracts and, the rules, right? But then ultimately, I knew it was on me to build my business. He had been in production and then got into management and did, production a little bit, but his career was a little bit different than I wanted it to be. So did that for 8.5 years. 4 years ago now, 4.5 almost, I left his brokerage and joined EXP, joined the Wolfpack, partnered with Mike Sherrard and Louis. Louis Galt and I have since built quite the setup.
Mm-hmm. No, that's amazing. And I think you started locally in Denver, right?
Mhm.
How was that for you? Like, what is the Denver market like for in the real estate space? Not only for the homes or the buying and the selling, but also for the agents. Like, are there a lot of agents? Like, for example, in Florida, there, quite a bit.
Yep.
But how does it work in your state for
Yep,
those?
there's a decent amount of agents. Everybody knows five or seven through, the great real estate rise of, COVID and all of that. But as I kind of got into it, I knew that I wanted to build it a little bit differently. And I'm a native to where I, sell real estate where I live. I moved an hour north to go to college, got a degree. So I had been around and I, you know, am licensed in the whole state. So I reached out to my contacts, professional contacts, college contacts, high school contacts, elementary school contacts, and just kind of started building a business through relationship. And I didn't call them and ask them, for a bunch of leads. I called them and said, "Hey, how can I help you? What are you doing these days?" In more of that tone, more of like, "Hey, let's partner in business together," versus, "Hey, let's, can I be your real estate agent?"
Mhm.
And that served me extremely well because unbeknownst to me, I was going straight to the entrepreneur, straight to the business owner. And when people offer to give you referrals as a business owner, your attention and your energy immediately shift. And so, I just went guns blazing. Facebook Messenger was the answer, and we did that. And so, transitioning to EXP and the opportunity to build an organization and grow that in a way that, as of today, I'm at 207 agents while I'm still in production as an icon agent 4 times here at EXP. Um, it was just about building that same business that same way,
Mhm.
right? It's relationship based, build relationships. You never know, going out to lunch with an agent, you never know if they're going to be on the other side of a deal or they're in a potential position to make a move. And so that's how we started boots on the ground. My sponsor Louis and I kind of got to work, right? We wanted to build something in Colorado, we wanted to build something in Denver. We knew that we had the energy to build a culture. So we did that. And, I have, I think 25, 30 agents here. Louis has probably 50. Well, now he got a big team, so probably 65 or 70. But um, we're working on, continuing that. But now we're in a stage where it's like, okay, how do we help people in other locations build what we built?
Hmm. Well, that's amazing and impressive on the numbers. And I think the question that I have is more a personal one because I know Louis and he's amazing, but how difficult was the decision to tell your father that you're leaving his brokerage? Because many agents that might be listening right now, they're like, well, I love my broker, he's my cousin's father, whatever, like he's my uncle. And it's very hard for them to make the decision to leave, especially when it's like a family structure. I can imagine, like, what was the decision? I mean, what made you do that shift?
Yeah. And the truth is, my dad and I are still best friends. Like, he still invites me to Christmas dinner. So I'll preface it with that. He also was a managing broker. He was not the employing broker. So, how it went down was I talked to him. I said, hey, this is an opportunity that I think, or I should look at. He was happy where he's at. My dad's older. He's since retired. So I knew he was kind of on that trajectory. So I called the decision maker and I just said, hey, my dad's about to retire. You know this. You've taught, he does litigation and 24-hour agent hotline. Like, that's not what I can do selling 40, 50 at the time, 60 houses a year. I can't take a $40,000 salary or whatever the salary is to spend 40 hours doing that plus, overtime.
Mhm.
So I said, what if I get into like retention and training and that kind of stuff and kind of get ahead of those problems, get ahead of the 24-hour hotline and litigation, hopefully. It's never completely avoidable, and he just said, we're good with where we're at. And I knew the guy that was doing the trainings, and I didn't necessarily love him. He, was a door knocking teacher, and was encouraging people to door knock during COVID because they were home, and it was just not a situation that I wanted to be in.
Yeah.
So that was it. And I said, well, I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity. I appreciate everything you've done for me, to the employing broker. And then I talked to my dad, and he's like, you've always worked harder at your business than me. Like, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't. Preface that with another family piece is that my cousin Lisa Kane is actually the growth director for, a portion of the southeast of the country, and was at EXP and had talked to my dad and I about EXP several times. But it wasn't, it was the early stages. It was before all this, stuff. And, all we heard was 80/20 split $16,000 cap, and that was our end. And so joining Mike was a decision that was also weighing on me at the time over my cousin. And now with co-sponsorship, that's completely washed away. I just co-sponsored another cousin of ours with her, and her daughter and some other people are planning on coming over. So now we're kind of back to having that opportunity to build that. But I'm completely happy in my decision with the Wolfpack, joining Mike, all of the things that he had to offer, and then co-sponsorship made that. But to answer your question, my dad was fully supportive. It was time. Knew he was leaving the industry at some point in the relative future. And so that is my favorite objection. When people are like, "Oh, I love my broker." It doesn't even have to be a family thing. I
Yeah.
love my broker because he helped me through this one hard transaction, or he does everything, or he's so smart or knowledgeable. And I say I did too, but his smarts and knowledge don't help my family's future,
Mhm.
right? And now building three six-figure incomes versus just the one in production, as I've been able to do at this brokerage, is a complete game changer.
No, that's amazing because many people, I think, make stories in their head of how they don't communicate the decision. It has happened to a couple of the agents that just joined us. They're like, well, I don't know how to tell them. And then
Mm.
they go through all these stories in their head. But at the end of the day, it's your decision. You're an independent contractor and you have to go and do whatever is best for you and your family. So then from that, beginning and transition, how has it been? And I mean, like you grew quite fast with Louis. What would be what an agent can go to you for? Like if somebody's curious about making a transition, have the hard conversation with their current broker to see how they can take their career to the next level, how can they reach out
Yep.
to you? Or what would be I know you're in Denver, but you're
Yeah.
also in other countries.
Right. I'm in 4 countries and 36 states. That's the beauty of our model.
Mhm.
But honestly, it's a conversation, right? And here's how I tell my agents that, have something similar is I just say, look, don't burn any bridges ever,
Mhm.
right? You don't want to be just walk out there guns a-blazing unless, things are really bad.
Yeah.
And I think if you do this correctly, it's actually an opportunity to leave the door open at a later date for partnership. Not to say that the broker, the team lead, your mentor agent, whoever is ready at that time. And I'm not saying to, attract them, but it's more like, hey, I have to go see what this opportunity is like, right? This gives me the ability to, continuing growing my business while I can work from home as a cloud-based brokerage, or why I can, focus on the YouTube stuff that Mike teaches, or whatever the reason being that you are taking advantage of this opportunity. Just tell them, like, I have to see behind this curtain because it's best for me and my family.
Mhm.
And most people, if you love them, right, will see that and hear that and they'll be like, I respect that, right? Go check out the opportunity. The door's always open, whatever. But by doing so, you're also presenting them with, a strategic option
Mhm.
down the road, right? Because I can build a brokerage without any liability for $85 a month is essentially what the opportunity that EXP has afforded me. Then I get to focus on diving into and pouring into the agents how I want to,
Mhm.
right? If I want to teach them how to lead generate, if I want to teach them how to nurture relationships, which I do, if I want to teach them how to build an organic business based on sphere of influence, I can do that. I've built that course,
Mhm.
right? And that's where I love to coach, but it's not necessarily, the ins and outs of accounting behind their business or how to write the perfect offer or how to host the best open house, right? I don't have to go down those roads, and EXP provides the stop gaps that are there at the very end, or my upline, which happens to be quite incredible, also provides that. So, different fills in different holes, right? If you need to YouTube, if you need to organize your business, call Louis, those kind of things. And just by the nature of the model, those people are involved for free.
Mhm. And it's amazing that, I think you also do events in person, at least in your location in Denver. For those agents that might think that cloud-based is harder, because they want to have contact with people, they do have you there physically that you're helping agents, weekly, monthly, and, for the events that you guys are organizing. How does it look like for your organization if somebody wanted to join and be like, hey, I'm in Denver physically right now and I have a license here. Um, what is what they can reach out to you for, like what will
Yep.
be the steps that they can follow on
Right.
joining the organization, not only as co-sponsor maybe and
Yep.
hopefully, but also to see, I know it's a club base, but we still have the in touch in person.
Yeah, I think co-sponsorship has really helped with that. Because you can join someone like Nathalie, who is a major player on the international circuit, right? She's involved with the EXP side of it. She's opened countries. She does events in other countries, right? And so you have that ability to have that like dream, right? Because I've talked to agents that are like, I want to be an international real estate agent, right? What's that mean? Well, there's not an international license. So, what's that mean? How's that look? It depends on the countries, depends on where your contacts are, but you probably also have to make money where you're at, right? Not usually people aren't just, wealthy, money falling out of their ears saying, okay, I just want to be an international real estate agent, go.
Yeah.
Right. So the fact that you can take on Denver, which I will tell you, I do help my clients. I take questions on contract or my agents, contracts, all of that, being the son of a managing broker. I kind of understand that. The Colorado managing brokers love me because my agents don't
Fine.
necessarily call them for everything. I'm a mentor as well. So you have that support. We do local in-person events. With the Wolfpack, there's a ton of calls that are available. I do personally have calls that are based on conversion, either if it's agent attraction or production based, and I host those every single week. So that's where I want people to come to me versus, just calling me unless it's, hey, this buyer just said this, they're in the house, what do I say?
Mhm, mhm,
That's a different, I'm available for that. But, getting the buyers off the fence, that's what I like coaching, right? If you've taken my information on lead generation, all of that, and you have these relationships, how do you get these people to, get over the interest rates? Or, what do you say? Right. And so that's where I help. Right. For instance, today, one of my agents called me and she said, hey, we're doing this VA assumable, and the buyer can't pay these fees. We've already put money in for the first set of fees that the buyer can't pay. What do I do? And so we broke it down, right? And I said, well, you're doing a referral for somebody. Like, this house has been on the market for a year. They couldn't sell it. They refer the business to you. Call that person and say, hey, can we split this, these excess costs so we can get this done and off our books, in 4 days? Right. So the creativity piece there to keep deals together, to make sure that agents aren't just emptying their pocketbooks as sometimes we do. That
mhm,
kind of stuff is what I like to solve. And so it's very much like you have a managing broker, a mentor, or whatever, you know, and it's like that across the country
mhm,
for the most part, not so much in Turkey since I have no idea about their market, but it's a different conversation. But um, it's about problem solving, showing you, directing you to the tools and helping you build that business that's key. So probably more so a team lead kind of relationship that I take on with my 200 agents versus, just a sponsor that's just like, okay, here you go.
mhm, mhm,
Right. And so that's how it is. And I really talk to my agents and tailor their experience to what they want.
mhm.
Right. I have agents that come in the door and they say, Jeremy, I'm never recruiting an agent. Okay. I have one agent that said that to me and has 50 agents in his organization.
Wow.
Right. So, there's different things that you can go into there. I do try and point out your strengths and say this is good. This is an opportunity for you to take advantage of. But if you're just like, I want to be an icon agent first, like let's focus on being an icon agent, then I know that and I can tailor your experience to get there.
Mhm. No, it's amazing because they will have the support of having you as you were saying as a team lead, or
Hmm.
managed broker, but in a different way that they have
Hmm.
the support locally, and that's how I think you have a good retention with your agents. That they know they can go to you for questions, that they can reach out to you, and you'll be available. Like many other organizations, sometimes it's they're too big and too busy, or they don't understand the systems in that state or in that country, which is very, it's not
Hmm.
the same in every state. How do you manage to extend to 36 states, and what is the challenge, the benefit and the challenge? Because I mean, that's a lot of states.
Hmm.
Do you have a point person that you're like, hey, since you're here, help the agents coming in on whatever they might be experts at? How do you for them
That
locally?
depends. I mean, it's been kind of organic when you grow in Colorado. Colorado happens to be kind of a melting pot.
Mhm.
So sometimes you uh, have introductions made, through that, right? It's 7 tiers, so it's not like I have frontline agents in all those states
Mhm.
or countries. But for instance, like when I got into Turkey, I was at an event that Mike and Louie had put on with a different organization, and I met all the people there, right? And I'm a resource to everybody. The honest truth is, most people in the Wolfpack call me and ask me questions as well. So that's just kind of in my nature and who I am. So um, as I was there, I met Angie Ware, right? She's lived in San Diego. I didn't actually know she was from Turkey until later on. But then I was at EXPCon 2 weeks later, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna open up in Turkey," and I immediately was like, "Adam, who's also my agent, who spoke at that event." I was like, "We need to talk to Angie." Right? And so we talked to Angie. Naturally, I was like, Adam, you're gonna, she's gonna go under you, whatever the event. It worked that way. She loved the AI stuff and was kind of
Mhm.
buying into that. And so that it just worked. Right. So then I acted on it. Right.
Mhm.
I said, we need to reach out. We need to get her on board. She was on board, I think, by December. the next week we're talking to the country leader and those people who they were trying to launch in March. I think they didn't launch until May or so. But we were in talks with them as the country moved forward to launch, and we were on those calls and supporting those calls. And the language barrier was fine because she was native, and
Hmm.
and so it just works out. But you just put the right people together, and then you kind of let them, spread their wings and go from there. So that's how it looks, but that's how you get into different countries.
Hmm. Yeah.
States. I mean, and states are the same way. That was just a global example. I was at an event, met an agent from California, happened to be from Turkey. And so it just kind of grows that way in a 7-tier system.
Hmm. No, that's awesome because sometimes we oversee the opportunity that will be speaking a different language or being from a different country. And EXP has been moving so fast on the growth that is, like you will always know somebody that is from a country that EXP is in. And
Hmm.
I feel that that has been the main attraction for us because there's a lot of similar brokerages I feel like that are copying EXP, but they don't have the international piece to it, which we are already far ahead, of that game and already in other markets that are not easy to manage or not easy to be in, but having that support system does help on the agents that want to, pursue attracting agents there. And if I had to tell you the story of Peru, people were waiting in line to join EXP because they heard about it before it hit the country. So,
Hmm.
they were tired of other brands that were, very high on splits. And they knew about the brand, but they were like waiting. Like I haven't seen like people waiting in line to be like, I just want to join right now. And being,
Yeah.
front for those experiences has been very rewarding because as EXP has expanded, now the name precedes when it opens in a country, there are people already line up to join, and that has
Yeah.
been.
And I think that's very important because there's international and then there's international with experience,
Hmm.
right? And countries are opening a country. I said this before I knew this, but the first 2 years are chaos,
Hmm.
right? Like they're trying to figure everything out. They're trying to jump through the hoops. They have a ton of, duties and they don't have staff at that point. Like, so there's very few people on staff, and you and Felix and the international team do a really good job, right? With what they have to kind of help and kind of let them take it and go. But you have to understand that, right? Because if I have somebody that's like, okay, we're going to open up in, I know Japan's next on the list, right? So we're going to open up in Japan, join me. And then you just kind of let them go as a sponsor, you're kind of letting them down,
Yeah.
right? As at what we did with Angie is like, hey, we're going to figure out who the country leader is. We're going to make sure the international team knows, right? And so they made those connections. The international team said, this is who you need to talk to. We made those connections. Felix has been in meetings with some of the, players in my downline that have come on from that. The commercial guy that's starting that is now not in my downline because of co-sponsorship, but um as we've facilitated that, it's for our leaders to grow and feel supported,
Hmm.
right? And it's just like that in the States, right? If you have an agent who's solo in the middle of Ohio, I'm starting to build decently in Ohio now, because I have some roots there. But um, like, okay, what's the problem? Right? Okay, well, you need to probably talk to the managing broker. Let's jump in the world and I'll go to the managing broker with you. I'll make that introduction.
Hmm.
Or, hey, you have this growth thing. Hey, cousin Lisa, who's on the growth team, who's in charge of Ohio, right? Let's connect them and provide that resource. You facilitate that introduction. They take it and go with it. So it's about being resourceful. It's about being plugged in
Yeah.
because that's probably the biggest thing and the most relationships that I've created within the Wolfpack,
Hmm.
right? Hey, Jeremy, this happened. What do I do? Right? Mike's super busy. Louis super busy. I'm
Yeah.
apparently not. But I know that's just how I built those relationships. But it's important to me because now I have relationships that will lead to co-sponsorships and that will lead to success. Like one of my favorite weeks of the year is EXPCon because we all get together like a family and everybody's helping everybody and everyone's kind of there and present and there's things. But it's really about just being a resource to people, which takes me back all the way to grow your agent attraction business like you grew your production business.
Hmm. That's awesome because you're like a compass.
Hmm.
Call Jeremy and then points you to the right
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah, and make the connections, right? Connect people that you can connect,
Hmm.
even if there's nothing in it for you, right? If I'm out here and I connect these two people and they, create a massive organization, like that's a win for me. And I don't care.
No,
Right?
it's amazing.
And like for you, right? You're in Vinay's organization. If there's an international person that's coming on that absolutely has to have AI, but has, the need for yourself and Vinay, right? Like, okay, well, I'm gonna say Adam and Nathalie, you figure it out. Like Nathalie should be the sponsor and go from there. Because if that grows and it makes my friends Vinay and Nathalie and Adam, a decent amount of income, then that's great and it's a win for me.
Yes, keeping like the mindset of abundance instead of the
Hmm.
other way around, that what isn't there for me before I do something.
Yeah, it will come back
No,
if you do those things.
no,
So,
you're always very helpful, and then running the calls as well. When
mhm.
Mike is, helping Mike as well. I feel like you've been great support for the team, and then as it's getting bigger, the good thing is that you know how to point people to the right direction. And then that's how I believe why agents are sticking to your organization and staying, because it's one thing attracting agents, and the other thing is retaining them,
Yep.
because two different avenues. But yeah, this is great, and I think I got a lot of great information, especially for the Denver area, because to me, I always remember you with that, but
Mhm.
also the extension of your organization now that is expanding in 36 states, and I'm sure you're gonna hit them all within the next few
Yeah.
months.
Yeah, that's the goal. But it's naturally, right? I'm not going to Idaho like, you know, bootstrapping it to find an agent in Idaho. The
Yeah.
beauty of our model is it doesn't really matter, and the beauty of our culture at the Wolfpack is that we're all kind of family and we're all going to help each other do what we do. So, and that's by design, right? Like me, obviously my friendship with Mike has grown since I've been here. Um, and that's where kind of my intrigue came anyways, but it's about being a human, right? And when you really get to know someone, like you have people on a pedestal on YouTube, or they do this great thing, but at the end of the day, they're all humans. And the truth is, when you really get down to the nitty gritty, all of the top producers, all of the icon agents, I've been at tables with them, sitting down, ask them questions, what's your secret? Every single one of them is their sphere of influence. So if I can connect people and grow my sphere of influence by being connected to others, like that's going to serve me well.
Mhm. No, that's awesome. And
Mhm.
thanks for spending the time with us to explain what is, the world of Jeremy, and, how connecting with you. What's the best way people can reach out to you? And of course, that we can add your calendar here as well in case they want to talk to you directly
Yep.
for that connection. And I
Yep.
love the mindset that you have.
Absolutely. Make sure if you do that, you mention that you know from Nathalie so we can get everybody looped in. But I'll put the calendar link below, but I am on Instagram, the RE Agent Playbook, and on YouTube, the Real Estate Agent Playbook. So put out a ton of content agent facing for that agent education, and I'd be happy to connect with you. Obviously, the videos, the content, all that's on YouTube, but direct messaging on Instagram for sure.
Awesome. We'll add your YouTube as well so they can go for resources and follow you as well.
Yep.
But it's impressive the way that you've done structure your business. You're still producing as an icon,
Mhm.
maintain, growing your business, agent business, and then also supporting them and having that retention. That is very impressive to see.
Right.
Because I don't know
It's
how
all it's all so I can homeschool my kids.
and you have
So,
kids, and you have kids.
yeah, there's quite an amazing wife behind the scenes, but that's kind of how it's structured, and it's all about servant heart, servant leadership, and that's where we're at. So thanks for all you do. Thanks for all you've done on the international stage for EXP. I know that's a huge help, and it's really cool to hear your stories, through the Wolfpack calls and those things as well.
No, I love that. I love to get to know everybody one on one, because it's hard to get that connection, when we're in the pack in a group. But
Yeah.
having this one on ones get to know you as well, and I love bringing that out to the world, because there's an amazing people in the Wolfpack and OEXP as well. But this is very special. I feel like this is a very special group that is just gonna grow organically. And then for those who align and they're curious to learn more, absolutely reach out. And with that, thanks again, Jeremy, for taking the time in your busy schedule. And for sure, we'll stay connected. I'll see you in Miami.
All right. Thanks so much, Natalie.
Hopefully, you enjoyed this episode. Our intention is for you to get inspired and just take your business to the next level. We just share tips, and if anything like we share resonates with you, you want to take your business global, you want to expand to other cities and states without the effort of incorporating every single state, and also you want to expand to other countries, you might want to chat with us. Maybe we can help you doing the step-by-step plan to get to that goal. If you want to have a group call between the three of us or just have a one-on-one with me, I'm happy to connect. My calendar will be in the link below. And also, you can always text us or call us, and we'll be able to chat more about what are the needs that you have right now in your business and how we can cater to that with our platform. That's it for today. Stay tuned, and we'll see you guys in the next video.